Good day, dear students, and welcome to our English class. In today's class, we're going to be looking at this real-life incident about a boy from the USA, and the chapter is titled "Lost Beneath the Mountain." So let's quickly get started. Okay. Now, we have here when John Skinner, a 43-year-old chemical plant foreman, drove up to his house, his wife Chris greeted him with ominous news. There is a boy lost in hidden treasure mine. A 10-year-old had become separated from his companions and hadn't been seen for more than 18 hours. He didn't even have a torch. Okay. What we have in the first paragraph is the character John Skinner. He's a very important character in the story, and let's see why a little later. But we know a few things about him from the first paragraph, that he is 43 years old and that he is a chemical plant foreman. Foreman is like an in charge, so he's working as an in charge for a chemical plant or a factory. Okay, and his wife Chris, the name of his wife, and as soon as he comes back home from work one day, his wife tells him some really bad news. Ominous news actually means something. Ominous means something that is almost evil. Okay, but in this case, we are talking about something that is extremely bad, very bad news. Okay, and what is the bad news? There is a boy lost in hidden treasure mine. Okay, and how old is this boy? The boy is just 10 years old, and what we know is that he had become separated from his companions. So they were probably trying to, go inside the mine to explore the mine, and that is when he gets separated from the rest of the group. And now it has been more than 18 hours that this boy has been lost. Okay, and you know that when someone gets lost, especially a child, 10-year-old, he's pretty much like a child. If they get lost, it's not like people are not searching for him. So they're just trying to say that for the last 18 hours, search operations are on. People are trying to search for him, but no success. He has still not been found. 18 hours is quite a lot of time. Okay. Now the worst thing is he didn't even have a torch. So you know that if it's a mine, it's not going to be a lit up place. Okay. It's mines are usually deep into the ground. Okay. They are underground. Okay. So there is no sunlight there, and the deeper the mine, the darker it is. There's no light at all that goes there. Okay. And he doesn't even have a torch. So how will he even find his way out? That is the biggest question. Okay. Then a kid alone in the dark inside hidden treasure. The thought sent shivers down Skinner's spine. Okay. To send shivers down someone's spine is an expression, and it simply means that it made him extremely scared. Okay. So when he just thought of the fact that there is a young boy and alone in the dark in the hidden treasure mine, he was extremely scared. His grandfather had been mining superintendent there in the 1950s. I told you this story takes place in the year 1989. Okay, and so we are talking about Skinner's grandfather, who used to work in that particular mine when it was functioning. Right now it is an abandoned mine. Okay, so when it was functioning, his grandfather was the mining superintendent. Superintendent means the in charge. Okay, so as a boy, Skinner had explored every bit of the mine in the Oquirrh Mountain behind his home. Okay, I'll just zoom this. Okay, so as expected, because his grandfather was the in charge there, he used to go to that mine every now and then. So he had explored that mine. Okay, the hidden treasure mine. And where is that mine? That mine is in the Oquirrh Mountain. I told you this, the students that I met earlier, I told you that the mine was in the mountains. Okay, and this mountain is behind his home. Whose home? Skinner's home. So it's not too far. That's why he used to go to visit his grandfather, because it's quite close to his own house. And while visiting, he would enter the mine and he would explore the mine as such. Okay, so that's why he knows the mine quite well. Okay, so Skinner pictured its 34 kilometers of tunnels sprawling over 6 levels, its deep pools of stagnant water, and its 300-meter deep shafts. Now, this is why Skinner is worried. That mine is not a small mine or an ordinary mine. It is a mine which is so huge. It is 34 kilometers long. There are tunnels that go on to 34 kilometers. Imagine how far it is and how deep the mine really is. And these tunnels are spread over 6 different levels. So it's not just one straight level. Okay, that is, there are 6 different levels to it. So again, it's not just long, it's also quite deep. It's deep pools of stagnant water. Now to add to it, there is a lot of stagnant means it's accumulated in one place or collected in one place. So there are deep pools of that stagnant water, and you can imagine if it is underground and there is no sunlight, then that water must be extremely cold also. Okay, so there are these deep pools of collected or accumulated water, and it's 300-meter deep shafts. Now shafts are these they are like the entry points. Shafts, they can be different meanings to the word shaft. It could be just the entry point to the from the main ground level, okay, to the mine inside. So the entry point from the ground level to the mine can be called a shaft. But there is also something called as a ventilation shaft, which are like it's just like a small hole that is created from the top till the mine, deep down the mine, and it's more because so that air should come and people who go deep into the mine can also breathe. So there are ventilation shafts as well as the normal shafts for miners to enter the mine, okay, from the surface level to the different levels inside the mine. Okay, so these, and they're 300-meter deep. That means they're that long. The shafts are vertical from the main ground level to the different levels of the mine itself. Okay, it's pretty much like this. It is vertical. Okay, so there are these 300-meter deep shafts, and it could be different levels that there are these shafts. Okay, so it's possible that if you are not careful, you might fall down the shafts and you might reach another level of the mine, because there are 6 different levels inside the mine itself. It's a huge mine. Okay, and another reason why he could fall is that we are already told that he has no torch, and under the mine as it is quite dark. Okay, so he's just thinking of the boy, and it's a dangerous mine. Okay, and he's alone. The boy is all alone. So that's the reason why Skinner's extremely worried. Okay, then to add to it, he says he knew that cases of old dynamite, so unstable they could explode if someone bumped against them, was strewn about the mine. So to add to the natural danger of this mine, there are also dynamites that are thrown, and dynamites that are many years old, because I told you this mine right now is abandoned. Okay, so mines that were used when his grandfather, the dynamite that was used when his grandfather was working, some of those dynamites are still there. So if by mistake also you bump into it, chances are that dynamite will explode and you will die along with the explosion there. Okay, so he's just thinking of how dangerous the entire situation is, and this boy, poor fellow, who's lost in the mine, is only 10 years old, and he has no idea that this mine is extremely dangerous. Okay, the name of the mine is Hidden Treasure Mine. Okay, now Skinner headed off to the sheriff's office. Sheriff is the police, so he goes to the sheriff's office. I know hidden treasure like my own backyard, he told the dispatcher. I'd like to help. Okay, now the reason why Skinner offers to help is because he knows that not everybody knows that particular mine, Hidden Treasure Mine. Why he knows the mine? Because when he was young, his grandfather was the in charge of that mine. So he used to go there a lot. So he has explored all the places. That's the reason why he knows it. But if other people try to come into the mine, they will not know it as well as Skinner does it. Okay. So because of his knowledge of the mine, he says, I want to help. Other people can come and help also, but they don't know how dangerous this mine is, how many levels there are, how to go inside, what are the different tunnels inside. They don't know that, but he knows it very well. Okay, so Skinner goes and he offers his help very readily, and he told the dispatcher. Dispatcher is basically, in this case, one of the officials there, one of the people on the team, and his job is basically to just pass on the message from one person to the other. Okay, especially to the other higher police officers. If there's any news that he needs to inform them, that is his job. So Skinner meets this dispatcher, one of the workers at the police station, And he says that I know the mine very well and I'd like to help to search the lost boy. Okay. Now, the man had orders not to let anyone without rescue credentials to join the search. Okay. So he says, thanks, but we have plenty of trained people, he told Skinner. Now, this is the order that is given to him. His bosses had told this dispatcher, this particular person working for the police, that if anybody comes, then if they don't have rescue credentials, that means if they are not professional rescue team members, then they should not come into the mine. Okay, they should not be allowed to enter the mine or help, because what will happen is that mine itself is pretty dangerous. We have already lost one person, so we can't risk missing another person or getting another person lost inside the mine. So therefore only professional rescue team members will be allowed inside the mine. Nobody else is allowed. So even the parents of that boy are not allowed to help with the search. That is the meaning. Okay. So that's the reason why this dispatcher says, thanks, but we have plenty of trained people. There are trained people who know how to carry out rescue operations, so they will definitely search for the boy, he told Skinner. So a quiet, unassuming man who disliked contention, Skinner wasn't about to argue. Hope you find him soon, he muttered as he left. Now Skinner, we are told something nice about Skinner as a person. Okay, so we know that he's working for this chemical plant. But you know about his nature, we are told that Skinner was a very quiet person and very unassuming. In the sense, he was a very humble sort of a man. Okay, and he disliked contention. Contention here means argument. He did not like to argue with anybody. He would not talk too much. Okay, he's very shy, very quiet, that sort of a person. So when this person, this dispatcher, openly tells him that if you don't have rescue credentials, you are not a professional rescue team worker, then you cannot enter the mine. So he doesn't go to argue. He doesn't say, I know the mine very well. He doesn't say anything. Okay, he just says, I hope you find the boy, and he leaves. He doesn't argue. Okay. Now, this is the incident. This is how the boy gets lost. We are looking at that. Okay. Now we are told the day before, that is on Friday. So that means Skinner goes to the police station on Saturday. Okay. So on Friday, that is 22nd of September 1989, this is the year that the story takes place, a group of Boy Scouts from Salt Lake City, an hour's drive from Skinner's home, along with 11 adult leaders, had arrived at the abandoned mine site for a weekend camping trip. The scouts set up tents and built a fire near a hole that led into hidden treasure mine. So how did this boy reach the mine? That is the biggest question. So the story explains here. What happens is that this boy had come along with a group of around 30 Boy Scouts. Okay, so 30 Boy Scouts, like I was telling you, there were scouts as well as guides. So these are all boys, so they're all called scouts. They had come from Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is a place in Utah itself. Even Hidden Treasure Mine and this Oka Mountain is also in Utah. Okay, it's a place in the USA. Okay, so from there, but it is 1 hour. It's a 1 hour drive from Skinner's home. So this mountain is about 1 hour away from the place that these people have come from. That is Salt Lake City. Okay. So anyways, the boys have come. There are 30 boys, young boys, along with 11 adult leaders. So 11 of their teachers have come along with the boys. And they had come to this abandoned hidden treasure mine for a weekend camping trip. Okay, so they, like I told you, scouts and guides, they go for a lot of camps. It's a nice experience in the wild. Okay, so and it's a very interesting place, an abandoned mine. So a lot of mystery, a lot of excitement. So they had a nice plan and they came for the camping trip. And the scouts set up tents, as happens for all camps. They had to set up their own tent, and they built a fire near a hole, fire to keep themselves warm because it can be pretty cold outside. So and also to do some of the cooking. Okay, so they built a fire near the hole that led into the hidden treasure mine. So just near the entrance of the mine, the abandoned mine, they built a fire. Okay, now after dinner, the boys pleaded for a quick look inside. Now boys will be boys, they're young, they're full of adventure, they see the mine and they tell their sirs, we want to go inside the mine and we want to have a look. We want to see what this entire thing was about. Okay. So they pleaded, they requested for a quick look inside, and Scoutmaster Kevin Weaver, that is the teacher, Kevin Weaver, unaware of all the dangers that the mine held, gave in. Now, this is very clear to us. Scoutmaster Kevin Weaver doesn't know what that mine is all about. He doesn't know how long it is. He doesn't know about the shafts. He doesn't know about the dynamites, the old cases of dynamites. He doesn't know about the deep pools of stagnant water. All these things Skinner knows. Why? Because when he was young, he had gone inside the mine many times, not just once and twice, many times. So he knows that it is dangerous. But this particular person, one of the scout leaders there, the adult leaders rather, one of the teachers, he has no idea of how dangerous this abandoned mine really is. Okay, so when his students started saying, "Sir, please, let's go inside the mine, let's just see what is inside, we don't want to do anything, we just want to see what is inside," he immediately gave in. He says, "Okay, let's go." So at around 7:30 p.m., and you must be wondering, they've already finished their dinner, and how is it so early? Because this abroad people have their dinner very early. It's not like how it is in India. So they must have had their dinner by 6 o'clock, 6:30, and by 7:30 they go inside the mine. Okay, and how do they go? It's at around 7:30 p.m. A group led by Weaver is Kevin Weaver, squeezed through the meter-wide opening. So there is a small kind of a hole. Okay, it's the opening to the what do you say, the mine. Okay, so and it's just 1 meter wide. It's not a very big opening. So slowly they enter through that opening, and this group, there is one group of boys, one group of students that is led by Kevin Weaver. That means he is going in front. He's like the team leader. Okay, he's the teacher that is leading the group. Shortly after, scout leader Terry Dennis followed with a second group which included his son Josh. Now remember this, okay? The second group has scout leader or the adult leader Terry Dennis. This is the second sir. First sir is Kevin Weaver. He has one group. Second sir is Terry Dennis. He has the second group, and in that second group, one of the students or one of the boys is his son Josh. So his name is Josh Dennis. Remember this. Okay. Holding a torch high, Dennis kept the boys in sight while lighting their path. Yes, when they were more than 100 meters inside, one of the scouts in Dennis's group became frightened and wanted to go back. Dennis saw the light of Weaver's contingent ahead. "The rest of you catch up with Mr. Weaver," he told the boys. "I am taking Denny out." Now, I want you to understand exactly what is the position of the teacher and where are the students. We are told you are holding a torch high, so they have only one torch. Okay. And this torch is held by Dennis. Dennis is the teacher, Terry Dennis, right? Surname is Dennis. Okay. Dennis kept the boys in sight while lighting their path. That means the students are in front. If there are 30 boys, then they could have divided the boys into 15 students and 15 students, two groups. Okay. One group is in front with their teacher Kevin Weaver. Second group of around 15 boys with their teacher Terry Dennis. Now, how they decided this, the arrangement is quite nice. They have put the students in front. Okay, at least the second group. This is how it is. Students are in front, the teacher is at the back, and the teacher, he puts his hand up and he holds a very bright torch. So what he is doing is that he is putting light for the entire group, because I told you under the inside the mine there is no light. Okay, it's not lit and there is no sunlight or anything, so they have to use torch or torches rather. Okay, so he is standing at the back of the students. He has his hand raised and the students are walking. So that way he is making sure that they have light and he can see each and every one of them. Okay, so we are told that holding a torch high, Dennis kept the boys in sight while lighting their path. Okay, when they were more than 100 meters inside, so they've moved quite a distance, they've slowly walked. One of the scouts in Dennis's group became frightened and wanted to go back. So one of the boys, okay, he gets very scared, probably because of the darkness of the different sounds inside the mine. He gets very scared and he tells his sir, that is Terry Dennis, that he wants to go back. Now, Dennis saw the light of Weaver's contingent ahead. So Dennis was of the second group. Remember, the first group was Kevin Weaver. He was there with the first group of students. So when this boy gets scared in his group, he says he saw the light of Weaver's contingent ahead. Okay, so there is another teacher also inside, and his light is right there, and there are students there. So what Dennis does, he says, the rest of you catch up with Mr. Weaver. So he says, the second group, please join the first group. Why? Because there is a teacher there. So he will take care of you. He told the boys, I am taking Denny out. So while you join, I will make sure that I myself take this boy who is scared and take him outside the mine. Because he cannot allow this boy to go out on his own. There is no light. Okay, the boy does not have a torch of his own, only this teacher has it. Both the teachers have it. Okay, so he says, I will have to take the torch and I will take this boy out, but the rest of the group, you please go next to Sir Kevin Weaver, because he will take you further, and you all can just, you all are under his guidance. Okay, actually, if you think of it, it was not a very good decision, because nobody knows, it's quite dark. Children are children. You can't really allow, or you can't really expect that children will not get lost. Children are, they're innocent, they don't know everything. Okay, so if you think about the story, you will probably agree to the fact that this is a very careless thing to do. Dennis, or rather Terry Dennis, should not have left the children alone. Okay, but I think he also had no choice, because one of the boys was extremely scared and he really wanted to move out of the mine. Anyway, so whatever happens, he takes that scared boy and he goes outside the mine, and he tells the rest of them, please join the other sir, that is Kevin Weaver. Now, we are told also that in the second group, one of the boys was Terry Dennis's son. That boy's name was Josh. Okay, so Josh paused, watching his father's light recede. Okay, so because his father is going out, he just stops. The other boys continue to walk, but he just pauses for a very short while, and he looks at the back. He's looking at how his father is taking that scared boy and moving out of the mine. Okay, so he just, because it is his father, he's just looking at the boy. Rather, he's just looking at his father, nothing more than that. Okay, so he sees that the light is slowly fading away. That means they are moving farther and farther away from them. That is, Terry Dennis and that scared boy. They are moving far and far, or farther and farther away from Josh and the rest of the boys. Okay, so he is just looking at them, just watching his father go. Okay, and the light is also slowly fading. Okay, as he turned to follow his friends, he saw only blackness. So I wanted to imagine the situation. He has turned. Why? Because he's looking at his father moving along with that scared boy. Okay, now he sees that the light is slowly fading because they are moving far and far away. Okay, now he turns back to continue with his journey, to move forward with the other boys and follow the first team. But when he turns back to follow the first team, he suddenly sees complete blackness. He cannot see anybody next to him. There were so many other boys in his group, but nobody is there. All he can do is he can see blackness. He looked back in the direction his father had gone. So again, he says, okay, I can't see anything in front. Let me just turn back and see whether I can see my father, or I can see the light of his torch. Okay. We are told, I'll have to move to the next page. We just said more blackness. Now this is where it gets a little scary. In front he cannot see anything, so he turns back just to see whether again he can see his father's light. There also there is a blackness. So forward there is blackness, backward also there is blackness. Dad, he shouted, where are you? The twists and turns of the tunnels muffled his cries. All he heard was a steady drip of water. Now, unfortunately for him, he does scream. We are told, Dad, he shouted. Dad is Terry Dennis, who has just walked out towards the entrance of the mine with that scared boy. So, although he shouted, and he even said, where are you? Obviously the father would know the voice of the son. Okay, but the problem here is that there are so many tunnels and they have so many twists and turns that his voice is muffled. His voice is sort of cut, you know, nobody can hear him although he's screaming. Because of the different turns, there must be very sharp turns, okay, and twists of the tunnels. Nobody can hear him at all. So even though he's screaming, nobody, not his father, neither that other team with all the boys and that other teacher, nobody can hear him. Okay, so all he can hear is that, you know, first of all, it's entirely dark. He can't see anything, but he can only hear something. And what he can hear is a steady drip of water. This is the water that was dripping and getting collected into that pool. Remember, we had spoken about how the mine has these deep pools of water. So the only sound he can hear very clearly is that the water somewhere from somewhere on top, it is falling and it is getting collected somewhere. That's the only sound he can hear. He cannot see anything because he doesn't have a torch, and you know, both the teams or both the sirs and their torch lights he cannot see at all. Okay, now this is a very scary place to be in. Okay, so we are told Dennis settled by the mine entrance to wait for the others. Now this is the second mistake. At least I would call it a second mistake. He should have gone with the, or he should have gone back into the mine again. No, he doesn't do that. What he does is he waits at the entrance of the mine for all the other team members to return. He doesn't come back. Okay, so Dennis just waits at the mine entrance for the others to come. When Weaver's group emerged almost an hour later, Josh was not with them. Now, surprisingly enough, the other team the team comes rather. Okay, Weaver comes with all the other, you can say 28 boys, because Josh is still inside and one of the boys got scared. There were 30 boys totally. Okay, so Kevin Weaver comes out with all the other 28 boys, and they realize something. They realize that one boy, that is this fellow's son, Terry Dennis's own son, Josh, he is not with them. Now you will also wonder, if he got lost somewhere near the entrance, somewhere 100 meters away from the entrance of the mine, they should have seen him at least while coming back. But for some reason they don't see him. Okay, and they cross that area and they come back to the entrance of the mine, but Josh is not with them. Okay, so main question, first question, where is Josh? Dennis shouted, suddenly apprehensive. Okay, so he's the father and he's also a teacher. Okay, first question is, where is Josh? Where is he? Okay, suddenly very apprehensive. Apprehensive means fearful, very scared. Okay, then we are told here, I thought he went with you, Weaver said. Okay, now what this means is that probably when Weaver, this teacher, was leaving from inside the mine, when they were getting ready to come to the entrance of the mine, he must have counted the number of students to make sure that everybody is there. But what is the problem here is that Josh is the son of that other teacher. So they noticed that Josh was not there. But they assumed that Josh must have gone with his father. So, and there was no communication as such between the two teachers. Okay, so they just thought that Josh is not in the mine. He must have gone with his father. So they very, nicely, they just move out of the mine. Now, when they reach outside the mine, that is when they come to know that Josh is not with anybody. He was not with his father. Neither is he with Kevin Weaver and the other team. Okay, then we are told, it says here, have we lost him? Dennis screamed. So he is the father of that boy. All the more that tension. He says, did we lose him? Is he lost? Okay. So Weaver says, maybe Josh came out by himself. Weaver replied. So he says, don't panic, don't worry. Maybe he came out on his own and he must have come out through some other entrance. Maybe we don't know that entrance to the mine. But I'm sure he is out because we would have seen him otherwise, right? So what they do is, they are told, the group fanned out means spread out through the underbrush, calling Josh's name. So underbrush basically is that area, the wilderness sort of there, because there are a lot of trees and there's a lot of grass there. So they spread, or the boys as well as the teachers, they all spread all over the place to try and look for Josh. Okay, they keep calling out Josh's name. Dennis checked the sleeping bags. So they had carried a few sleeping bags. They wanted to see whether Josh was tired and he went to sleep in one of the sleeping bags. He checked there also, but no sign. I should have kept him with me. What if he has fallen down a shaft? So the father, that is Terry Dennis, he starts regretting. He says, I should have just kept him with me. There are shafts. There are these what do you say? These vertical kind of holes inside the mine. What if he falls down that? Okay, and I told you that they're pretty deep, so if he falls, he is definitely going to get injured. Okay, and why he will fall is also because he can't see anything. He can't see where he's walking, so he might put one as he's walking, he might just walk directly into the hole, and he might fall right down, and he might reach a different level altogether. So the father is all upset, that is Terry Dennis, and he says, what if my son fell down through one of the shafts, and that is why while the second team was coming back with the sir, they did not see him. That is the first thought that came to his mind. Okay, now we are told what happens to Josh. It's said here, deep in the mine, Josh was scared. Okay, obviously he's scared. He's just 10 years old. He can't see anything. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know the way. He's completely lost. Obviously he's scared. He tried to remember how many turns there were, how many turns there had been coming in. So he's just trying to imagine, roughly how many different tunnels or how many different turns were there, okay, on his way in. So while coming into the mine, okay. The entrance can't be too far away, he told himself. Maybe I can feel my way out. Okay, so he says, and we are told also, when the incident takes place, the exact spot where Josh gets lost, it is around 100 meters away from the entrance. So it is not too far also. Okay, because the mine is quite big. So it's not really far. So Josh, very innocently, he says to himself, I think I can find my way out. Okay, the only thing I'll have to do is I'll have to stick to the boundaries or stick to the walls of the tunnels. Okay, and I will have to slowly touch the walls, and I'll have to feel my way out. See, the reason why he has to touch the walls of the tunnels is because he can't see anything. It's pitch dark. He doesn't even know whether he's going forward or backward. He has no idea. Okay, the only way to know that he's moving somewhere is by touching the walls of the tunnels. Okay, so he decides that the entrance cannot be too far. We have not walked that much also. The entrance must be close by. I can just feel my way out. I'll keep touching the wall of the tunnel, and I will find my way out. So we are told, trailing his right hand along the wall, he was certain he was traveling in a straight line. So he's just feeling it. He feels like he keeps touching the wall. Trailing means again he's touching the wall. And when at home also, when there is no power supply and it is pitch dark, and the inverter has also run out, how do you find yourself? If you want to go to the other room, how do you really do it? It's usually by if you're smart, at least you will try to find a wall. Okay, and slowly you'll touch the wall, and you'll know, okay, this is the door, or there is a bed here, I'm going to hit it here. He's doing something similar. He can't see anything, so he's just touching something, the only thing that he can feel, that is the wall, and he's trying to find his way out. So at the start, it is a straight line, so it is a level ground, let's just put it that way. So it's a level ground, and he's nicely walking on. So we are told that when he noticed the floor of the tunnel slope upwards, he sighed with relief. Okay, so suddenly he realizes that it is not straight. The ground is not level anymore. Now it is slowly becoming a slope. Okay, and as he walks, he realizes that he is walking upwards. Somewhere on top, he has to walk. Okay, so he sighed with relief. That means he is relieved, and he just says to himself that maybe I have reached the entrance. Why he says that is because he says he remembered a downgrade at the entrance. So he remembers that while entering the mine, he had to come down a certain slope. So now that he is going up a certain slope, he thinks it is the same slope that he had come down from while entering the mine. So he says, Arey, I have reached it. I have reached the entrance of the mine. As soon as I reach up this slope, I will reach the entrance. Now, we are told that, he says, I shall be out any minute now. He's so excited. He says, I'm very smart. I am going to be out very soon now. But unfortunately for him, the slope steepened. That means it becomes even, it becomes even higher. A steep slope is, all the more higher it has gone. Okay. We are told that he should have reached the entrance by now. but he doesn't. He actually doesn't. Okay, according to his calculation, he had reached a slope. Okay, but by now at least he should have reached the entrance, but he is continuously walking and the slope is getting steeper. Okay, it's not getting over, the slope is just not getting over. Okay, now he realizes, he says, what do I do now? He thought, I must be heading deeper into the mine. So he after some time he says, this is not the entrance, this is some other kind of a slope and I'm definitely lost. Okay, so he realizes that he has walked even further. He has reached some other place altogether, and he has reached deeper inside the mine. Okay, then we are told he groped around a jumble of boulders. Boulders are the rocks. Okay, there are different kinds of boulders there, or different kinds of stones inside which make up the wall of the tunnel. So he keeps holding on to that. Okay, he keeps feeling it, keeps touching it. Okay, so he groped around a jumble of boulders and sensed, I think sensed he had entered a smaller tunnel. So, but he's just feeling where he's going. He can't see anything, but he could just make out that he's entered a smaller sort of a tunnel inside the mine. Okay, his head bumped the rock overhead. So it is so small that his head touched the rock that is on top of that tunnel. Okay, then feeling around the walls, he realized he had ended up in a pocket the size of a tiny room. So he realizes soon that he has reached a certain sort of a like a small pocket-sized room, a small room inside the entire mine. Okay, and he was totally lost. Okay, so he had walked through the tunnels and he had touched the walls of the tunnel, and now he had reached a sort of a tiny room inside the mine. Okay, I think we will stop right here. We will continue in the next class.